Hey guys, Mike the Alpha Hoarder here. Today I'm adding just one card to my hoard, but I thought it might be a good opportunity to chat about print runs and one of the factors that I consider when trying to decide how to deploy some speculative capital. So, I'll show you what I got today first, although you can guess from what I got out. So my journey back into Magic didn't actually begin with alpha cards, although I moved there pretty quickly. Look at that. I actually started with beta commons. Well, I started with some unlimited cards, but when I started considering the MTG finance side, I got into beta commons first. And the reason for that had to do with what struck me as a mismatch between the pricing and the print runs. So I want to take a minute to talk about print runs and just tell you what I mean. All right, let's see how this looks first though, shall we? A new card for the Horde. Some surface damage, but otherwise nice and clean. Good eye appeal except under glare. Ooh, another scratch. What the heck happened to this card? Alright, and that joins a few other alphas that I've got, but I don't think it's going to be nice enough to... This is my master copy. I don't think it's going to be nice enough to replace that one. Okay, so I actually don't have a beta, so let's just pretend this is beta. All right, so let's talk about print runs. And just to be clear before I do, this isn't financial advice. And I don't have all the answers on what exactly all this implies. This is just me thinking through some data. And your feedback in the comments would actually be very much appreciated. But there are some relationships between the print runs of the different old sets, and these relationships have to be reflected in the market. And if they're not, you have to ask why. And there's basically going to be two reasons. One, the market is wrong, or two, you're not accounting for some variable. Now, most of the time it's two, but sometimes it's one. So, these are the best print run numbers that I've been able to find. I didn't come up with these. Some of these, third edition ones, were printed forever ago. These have been confirmed a bit more recently and made a little bit more accurate. I think the prediction used to be 1100, but it's now considered to be 1008 for Alpha edition rares. So anyway, the print run of Alpha, you have about 1,000 rares, 4,500 uncommons, 16,000 commons. And there's just a multiplier that I've put here. So there's 4.5 times as many uncommons as rares, and 3.5 times as many uncommons as commons. For Beta Edition, 7 cards were added. They missed Circle of Protection Black and Volcanic Island, I believe. And then they also added another art for each of the 5 land cards, basic land cards, so 7 total. And they tripled the print run. So you went from 1,000 to 3,000. They kept the same ratio, tripled the uncommons, tripled the commons. Then we get to unlimited. Here they changed things a little bit. They printed about 4.5 times as many, a little less. So you can see commons 213,000, 59,000. But they actually increased the amount of rares relative to commons and uncommons that were being printed. And so now if you look at the relationship between the rares and uncommons, there's 3.5 times as many, 3.5 times as many, about. And then they really went nuts for revised. There are 17 times as many of each type, and they kept the ratio that they had established in the second edition for the revised edition. And then there were some changes. Some cards were taken out, some cards were added in. But that's pretty much what you got for print runs. So one of the things that I liked to do was look at these numbers and try and understand if the pricing in the market reflects the rarity. Now, I don't think you can do this as well for revised edition. Let me just go through an example. So I'll start with Royal Assassin as an example, just because I had that coming in the mail. So if you look on TCG Player, the way I normally do this is I just scroll down until I find about the point where the MP and the LP start switching over. And if you do that, you'll find that these are about $8 each. You can get a revised Royal Assassin in, decent condition for $8. You can't really try and do this comparing the near mint just because there is such a price spike. So that's why I do that. I sort of get the bottom end of the LP. All right, so it's about $8 for these, and the print run on these is 3.6 million. This one on TCG Player, at that changeover point, it's about $170 for a nice unlimited copy. Let's pretend this is beta. It's harder to find listings for alpha and beta. In this case, I look at the listings that are available. I look at eBay sold. I try to come up with something, but you're going to be able to get this card in beta for about $1,200 in decent condition. And alpha, again, swings around a lot more. A couple sold in the 1,800 to 2,000 range, a couple in the 3,500 to 3,700 range. I sort of split the difference on that, but let's say you can get a decent Royal, maybe not as nice as this one, more like this one, for 2,600. Okay, so just using those numbers, $8 to 170 is an increase of 21 times over. Now, that is a little bit off from the 17x, but I think you have to factor in a difference between collectability, which I think is going to be higher in these sets, and playability, which will be higher in this sets. In other words, players who want to use these cards are going to be more likely to come in here than, say, here. Once you start talking unlimited, but especially alpha beta, at that point, you're really talking about collectors. And so that's a variable that's going to affect the pricing difference here, because it's not quite an overlapping market in all cases. But it's close, but it's off by a bit. Now let's take unlimited and my pretend beta. So this one I had at 170, this one I had at 1,200. That is a 7x price increase. 7 times to go from unlimited to my fake beta. You can see that's not quite right though. The rares have less than a 6%, a 5.5% increase in print run. So this card, my pretend beta, is 5.5 times more rare than this card, and it's priced 7 times more. So that's an anomaly. Now my fake beta to my alphas, the price was 1,200 to 2,600. That's 2.2x more, where our print run difference is 3x. So something is wrong with the balance of the prices. Now, it's not enough to just look at that and say what the problem is exactly, but it seems that one of these is not priced properly. Either this one is priced a little bit too high, or these are too low, or whatever. You get the idea. But this is just one thing that I like to look at. And if I can find cards, this isn't a great example of it, but if you find cards where that number is way off, and there are some, you have to try and figure out why. And it might be an opportunity. This is another example I pulled. Not for any particular reason. I just stumbled into my pile of Soul Rings when I was trying to see if I had any other copies of Revised Royal. But here's another card we can just look at. So, Revised Edition, Soul Ring. maybe 12 bucks. Again, going at that line between LP and MP, you can get this for 12 bucks. Second edition unlimited, sorry. Unlimited edition is going to cost you about 105 bucks. Again, I don't have any betas, so we'll just pretend this guy's a beta. Beta is going to be about 700 bucks. And an alpha, not a 9, but you know, a regular alpha like that one, I suppose. You could probably get this for $17.50. I think that's reasonable. So once again, the relationship going from the price of 12 to 105 is 8 3/4 X. That doesn't match up with our print runs again, but I think there's a playability versus collectability variable that affects that. From $105 to $700, that's a 6.6x increase. In that case, we are, where are we? Way off. Is that an uncommon? It is, right? Yeah. So we're pretty far off, like 50% off. So, I mean, the way I interpret that is that this card is too low, but it might mean these are too high. And then going from 700 to 1750 is a 2.5 times increase. And once again, that's close, but it's not right. So anyway, like I said in the beginning, I don't have answers on exactly what all this means or how to figure out what the right price is. But this is just something that I like to look at to try and find opportunity. And when I first started getting into the investing, specifically what I was looking at was an average across all cards, which I'm not sure was the wisest to do, but I looked at all commons, for instance, in beta, alpha, all these. And I took a ratio of that price to the print run, and I just tried to see where I was getting the most bang for my buck, so to speak. And when I started doing this, that was beta commons for me. So I started getting back into the MTG finance side by seeking out beta commons. But I quickly just started falling in love with the alpha, and who can blame me, right? And so I started going for alpha, even though it seemed like I was getting more value for my dollar with the betas. Now, that was a while ago. That's no longer accurate. I'd have to rerun that. I intend to at some point. Maybe I will and make a video about it. But in any case, that's one thing to look at when trying to make sense of the market. How does the print run and the price line up? And if there's a discrepancy, what do you think that means? And if you can interpret that properly, there could be opportunity there. Thanks so much for watching. If you liked the video, you can help me out, you can help the channel out, just by taking a minute to give a stranger a high five. I'd appreciate it. See you next time.